Welcome to another class with Legal English. Today we're diving into 20 of the most common Spanish English legal cognates. Cognates are words that share similar meanings, spellings, and pronunciations, often stemming from the same root. But be careful, just because they look the same doesn't mean they always work the same in legal contexts. In this video, I'll explain each term clearly with examples, legal usage tips, and a few warnings about common mistakes. Let's get started with our first word. Here's our first cognate, and it's a foundational one in legal language. Contrato in Spanish is contract in English. A contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties. In both English and Spanish law, a contract requires consent, capacity, a lawful object, and sometimes consideration, something of value exchanged. For example, firmamos el contrato ayer means we signed the contract yesterday. Simple, right? But remember, in English, we don't usually say make a contract, like hacer un contrato. We say sign a contract, enter into a contract, breach a contract. This is a safe cognate, no tricky false friend here, but always check the verb that goes with it. Our second word is legal, and yes, it's spelled the same in both Spanish and English. But here's the key. In both languages, it means something permitted by law or relating to the law. In English, legal can describe a legal document, a legal right, legal advice. And in Spanish, un documento legal, una obligación legal. So the sentence es este documento legal becomes is this document legal? Very clear and no hidden traps here. But don't confuse it with lawful or legitimate in English, which have more specific meanings in legal context. Legal is the broad, go-to term when you're talking about anything connected to the law. Next up is obligación, obligation. And this one is almost identical in both spelling and meaning. Obligation is a legal duty, something a person or company must do under the law or a contract. You might hear phrases like contractual obligation, legal obligation, or obligated to pay damages. So when you say in Spanish, el contrato crea una obligación legal, you are simply saying the contract creates a legal obligation. It's a very professional sounding word, and it comes up all the time in contracts, letters, and court decisions. The next word, responsabilidad, translates to responsibility in English. In legal English, responsibility often refers to liability, who is legally accountable for something. There are different types of legal responsibility: criminal responsibility, civil responsibility. So, for example, if you hear el empleador tiene responsabilidad legal, it means the employer has legal responsibility. You can use this word, responsibility, when talking about contracts, accidents, duties of care, or obligations under the law. Now, let's look at documento, a very useful and easy one. It's document. In law, a document refers to any written or recorded item that can serve as evidence or define legal terms. Common legal documents include contract agreements, affidavits, court filings. The Spanish sentence, este documento fue firmado por ambas partes, becomes this document was signed by both parties. It's formal, clear, and widely used in legal English across all practice areas. Now, Let's move on to a very formal legal word, tribunal. In English, tribunal refers to a type of court, especially in international law or administrative law. It's not just any court. A tribunal usually has more of a specialized purpose, like labor tribunals, arbitration tribunals, or international human rights tribunals. So when we say el tribunal emitió una decisión final, we're saying the tribunal issued a final decision. It's a word that immediately signals formality and seriousness in legal proceedings. Next, we have cláusula, and the English word clause is nearly identical. In legal English, a clause is a specific section or paragraph in a contract. Each clause usually deals with one legal point: a termination clause, a non-compete clause, a confidentiality clause. So when you read or hear la cláusula de confidencialidad protege la información, it becomes the confidentiality clause protects the information. Clauses are what make up contracts, so this is a must-know term. Next is a classic legal term, parte, which in English is party. And no, we're not talking about a birthday party. In legal English, a party means a person, group, or company involved in a legal agreement or case. So when we say cada parte debe firmar el contrato, we mean each party must sign the contract. This word is everywhere in legal language. Parties to a contract, the injured party, the contracting parties. Understanding who the parties are is fundamental to understanding any legal document. Now, let's look at the word proceso, which gives us the English word process. A legal process refers to the entire set of steps involved in handling a case, from filing a complaint to receiving a judgment. So if you say, el proceso legal puede durar varios meses, it becomes the legal process can take several months. We also use this word in many phrases like due process, criminal process. It's a word that describes the journey, not just the destination, in any legal matter. Next up is testimonio, which translates to testimony, a very common word in court. Testimony refers to the statement a witness gives, usually under oath during a legal proceeding. It's how facts, observations, and even expert opinions are brought before a judge or jury. So when we say el testimonio del testigo fue clave para el caso, the English version is the witness's testimony was key to the case. Whether it's civil or criminal law, testimony can make or break a case. Lawyers often prepare witnesses carefully because what someone says in court becomes part of the official legal record. Let's move on to declaración, which is declaration in English. In legal terms, a declaration is a formal statement, usually written, made under oath, or with legal significance. One of the most common types is a sworn declaration, also known in English as an affidavit, or in Spanish we know it as declaración jurada, where someone affirms the truth of a statement in writing, often as part of court or administrative proceedings. So the sentence ella firmó una declaración jurada becomes she signed a sworn declaration or affidavit. This is especially useful in civil law systems where written statements often carry more weight than oral ones. Here's a word with two meanings depending on the legal context: sentencia. In Spanish, sentencia refers to a judge's decision, the final ruling or judgment in a case. In English, sentence can also refer to the punishment in a criminal case. For example, he received a 5-year sentence. So, el juez dictó la sentencia final means the judge issued the final sentence. In civil law countries, the word sentencia is more closely related to the word judgment, not necessarily punishment, but at times it does. It's the conclusion of the legal process when the court decides who wins and what remedies apply. Now we come to corte, a straightforward and very important legal cognate. In English, corte means court. It's the official place where legal cases are heard and decided. So, if you say, el caso será decidido por la corte, in English, that becomes the case will be decided by the court. In everyday legal practice, we talk about civil courts, criminal courts, international courts, and more. Lawyers often refer to filing with the court, arguing in court, or waiting for the court's decision. It's one of the foundational words in any legal system. Now, let's look at investigar. In English, investigate. To investigate means to examine something carefully and thoroughly, often for legal or official reasons. Lawyers, police, and regulatory agencies all investigate facts to understand what happened. In Spanish, investigar works the same way. For example, el abogado quiere investigar el caso más a fondo becomes the lawyer wants to investigate the case further. This is a powerful legal verb. It shows action, inquiry, and attention to detail. You'll use it often when discussing evidence, facts, or legal strategy. Next is evidencia, which gives us evidence, a central word in any courtroom. Evidence refers to the information, documents, witness testimony, or material objects used to support one side of a legal case. So, when someone says no había suficiente evidencia para probar el caso, that means there wasn't enough evidence to prove the case. Evidence can be physical, like a document, testimonial, a witness's words or statements, or even digital. Lawyers must present evidence to convince the judge or jury, and rules of evidence determine what is admissible in court. Now let's look at another one, reclamación, which becomes claim in legal English. A claim is a demand for something due, usually money, based on a legal right. It's one of the first steps in any civil case. The client believes they're owed something and they file a claim. En Spanish, presentaron una reclamación por incumplimiento del contrato means they filed a claim for breach of contract. You might also hear about insurance claims, employment claims, or contractual claims. Whether it's in negotiation or litigation, this word is everywhere in legal communication. Here we have comisión, which becomes commission in English. And it's a term with two major legal meanings. First, a commission can be a group or people officially appointed to investigate something or oversee a specific issue. For example, a truth commission or an anti-corruption commission. In this sentence, la comisión investigará las acusaciones. We say the commission will investigate the allegations. Second, commission can also refer to a fee paid to someone for completing a task, especially in contracts or agency law. Be careful to distinguish between the two in context. And finally, we have confidencial, which is almost identical to the English word confidential. In legal English, confidential refers to information that must be kept private and protected, often because it's privileged, sensitive, or bound by contract. So, when we say la información del cliente es confidencial. In English, that's the client's information is confidential. You'll see this word in phrases like confidential agreement, confidentiality clause, or confidential memo. Keeping information confidential is a cornerstone of legal ethics and professional responsibility. Our final cognate is contratista, which translates directly to contractor in legal English. A contractor is someone hired to perform work or provide services, but who is not considered an employee. This is important in employment and labor law, where legal rights and obligations differ depending on the worker's classification. In Spanish, we might say, la empresa contrató a un contratista independiente para el proyecto. And in English, the company hired an independent contractor for the project. Contractors have more freedom than employees, but fewer legal protections. In legal practice, you'll often encounter issues around contractor agreements, tax liability, or disputes about whether someone is truly a contractor or actually an employee. Let's talk about false cognates, words that look similar in Spanish and English, but actually mean something very different. These are especially dangerous in legal English because they can lead to serious misunderstandings or even embarrassing or inappropriate statements. Let's go through some common examples that Spanish speakers often use incorrectly when speaking English. Embarazada. Many students say, I'm embarrassed, when actually they want to say, estoy embarazada. In English, pregnant is the correct word. She's pregnant, not she's embarrassed, unless she's ashamed. Now let's go on to sensible. In English, sensible means logical or practical, but in Spanish, sensible means sensitive, someone emotional or empathetic. She's a sensitive client, not she's a sensible client. Now, I think the most important one is this one, molestar. This one is incredibly dangerous. In English, molest means to sexually harass. It's a serious legal accusation. And in Spanish, molestar simply means to bother or annoy. So for example, if you were to say, the noise bothers me, not the noise molests me. Asistir. Many learners say, I will assist the trial, but asistir in Spanish means to attend, not to help. Say, I will attend the hearing. Delito. Some learners confuse delito with delight, but delito means a crime or offense in English. We would say he committed a crime, not he committed a delight. These are the kinds of small mistakes that can have big consequences, especially in courtrooms, interviews, and client conversations. That's why we keep practicing these in class and reviewing them in our legal English resources. Remember, just because a word looks familiar doesn't mean it means the same thing. Let's wrap up this lesson with a short story using many of the real legal Spanish-English cognates we've learned today, and a few more added in. Let's imagine a famous legal case, like one between Apple and Samsung over smartphone patents. It all starts with a contract between companies and inventors, outlining their obligations. When disagreements arise, each party presents their case in a tribunal, the court, following a clear legal process. Lawyers submit detailed documents, including a clause about confidentiality to protect sensitive information. During the trial, witnesses give testimony and make formal declarations explaining the facts. The court reviews all the evidence to decide the responsibility of each party. If a claim is valid, the court issues a sentence or judgment enforcing the ruling. Sometimes a commission may investigate to ensure the process is fair and all rules are followed, especially when confidential information is involved. This story shows how knowing these legal terms help you understand and communicate complex legal matters clearly, whether you're reading documents, talking to clients, or following a case. In the story, we use the following legal cognates in English and their Spanish equivalents. Contract, contrato, which is a binding legal agreement. Obligation, or obligación, referring to a legal duty one party owes to another. Party, or parte, meaning one side in a legal agreement or dispute. Tribunal, tribunal, which is a court or legal body that hears disputes. Process, or proceso, referring to the series of legal actions taken in a case. Document, documento, an official piece of writing used in legal proceedings. Clause, cláusula, which is a specific section or term within a contract. Testimony, testimonio, meaning a statement given under oath. Declaration, declaración, a formal statement often submitted in writing. Court, corte, where legal decisions are made. Evidence, evidencia, which supports a claim in court. Responsibility, responsabilidad, referring to the legal or moral duty to act. Claim, reclamación, a demand or assertion of a right. Sentence, sentencia, the court's final decision or judgment. Commission, comisión, which refers to a legal body. And confidential, confidencial, meaning private and not to be shared without permission. Legal, legal, meaning related to the law or legal systems. Patents, patentes, meaning exclusive legal rights granted for inventions. Companies, compañías, which are organized businesses or corporations. Presents, presenta, meaning to formally show or submit something, like a case or evidence. Case, caso, meaning a legal matter or dispute brought before a court. Formal, formal, meaning official or following established rules and procedures. Valid, válido, meaning legally acceptable or enforceable. Imagine, imaginar, which is to form a mental image or concept of something. Information, información, meaning facts, data, or knowledge communicated or received. Investigate, investigar, which is to examine thoroughly, often in a legal or official context. Communicate, comunicar, which is to share or exchange information. Clients, clientes, individuals or organizations who receive professional legal services. Especially, especialmente, which is particularly or more than others in importance or relevance. There are so many cognates that we saw in this story, and they are powerful tools for understanding legal texts and explaining concepts to clients across languages. And more importantly, it shows how fast you can learn legal English vocabulary if you study legal cognates. Great job following along. We covered a lot of key legal terms. You did amazing. And these cognates are your secret weapon to mastering legal English faster because they look and sound the same to their Spanish counterparts. Using these words confidently will help you understand legal documents, explain cases to clients, and participate in meetings more effectively. Keep practicing, and soon you'll notice these terms popping up everywhere in your legal work. Thanks for watching. Keep up the great work, and see you in the next lesson.